Hello there. Welcome to my channel. My name is Laura and I am currently pregnant with my fourth child, and I've had 4 pregnancies. In all 4 pregnancies I've had Hyperemesis gravidarum, or what they like to say is severe morning sickness, which I feel just completely diminishes the torture that it is, because it's more than just morning sickness. It is all day sickness, morning sickness, afternoon sickness, evening sickness, all night sickness, and it just is basically torture. And calling it severe morning sickness just completely diminishes the fact of how much it overwhelms every aspect of your life. So now that I've done this 4 times, I think I figured out a few things that have worked for me that have helped with that severe nausea that comes with my pregnancies through the first trimester and into the second trimester. Being 15 weeks pregnant, I'm in my second trimester. I'm supposed to be feeling better, but yesterday I threw up yesterday and had a horrible day, and it just kind of, even though I'm feeling better most of the time, it definitely still affects my life. But I would throw up maybe 3 or 4 times a day. I would throw up maybe 5 or 6 times a day when it was really bad, and sometimes twice in a row. Sometimes to the point where there wasn't anything in my stomach to come up, but I just had to do that motion, and it would give you some relief. Like, it's exhausting to do it, and I would just have to lay down and rest afterwards, but it would give me temporary relief. So I almost feel like in my earlier pregnancies, getting nauseous and to the point where I was throwing up was a good thing, because it would give me some sort of relief from that insane, never-ending nausea that comes. But I don't want to have relief from the nausea. I want to have no nausea. And I think I figured it out this time. And in this pregnancy, I've only thrown up 5 times total. So that is such a huge difference. I will take that over 5 times a day, any day of the week. So I want to talk about HG and morning sickness in pregnancy and share a few tricks that I've learned that hopefully you can take some of this advice as you're laying there in misery thinking that it's never going to end. I promise you there's a light at the end of the tunnel and you will get through it, and there's a few little tips and tricks that will help make that time in your pregnancy a little less miserable. My first couple pregnancies were so rough. I didn't even know that I was gonna feel bad with my first pregnancies. I didn't know that there was medication to help with it, and I am a big fan of the medication. It took me a while to get on it for my first couple pregnancies, and I think that was a big factor in feeling bad because I wasn't utilizing the resources that were there for me. And I didn't realize until later that I could get the medication. I use diclegis. There's also some other ones like Zofran and things like that, but basically diclegis is just Unisom. But you want to make sure you have the Unisom sleep tabs and not the sleep gels, because they're different medication. So I didn't ask for medication until after I was feeling sick, and then I feel like I wasn't able to catch up and get back into feeling better. I was always playing catch up and always just a little bit sick because my body was already so depleted by that time. So by the time I had my 4th pregnancy, I found out I was pregnant. I made the appointment with the doctor. I went in for my 8-week pregnancy confirmation appointment, and at that appointment I walked out with a prescription for diclegis, and picked it up that day and started taking it, and I was still feeling the nausea symptoms, but I was able to stay on top of it before it got just completely took over my life. So that is my advice, is get on any type of prescription medication if you need it. They can really, really help just take some of those symptoms away, even if it's not perfect. However, I do know that it's expensive. My insurance, sometimes it would be over $400 for a 30-day supply. But when you're really desperate, you'll pay that much. And I was taking 4 pills a day. So I would go through my 30-day subscription. Why do I keep saying that? I would go through my 30-day prescription way faster. I learned in my 4th pregnancy, after I had spent thousands of dollars on this medication, that Diclegis is identical to the Unisom sleep tabs. And I always thought it was different because Unisom was something that you would take at night. So I thought there was some sleep aid in it or something, and I didn't want to take it during the day so I wouldn't get tired. I'd be able to drive around, but that's not the case. You can take Unisom during the day, and that's a better, more cost-effective solution. So medication wasn't the only thing that helped me. You have to take it in a certain way. My first couple of pregnancies, I would just take it at night and take 2 pills at night and think that I was good to go. But my morning sickness, again, all day sickness, would get worse at about 4 p.m. That's kind of the peak of it, right? As like my kids are coming home from school, right as we're getting ready for dinner, was when I was feeling the worst. I would get sick at night before bed, and so I would take these pills and hope that I felt better. But it would be too late by that time. Again, just kind of playing catch up. And so I asked advice on how to take more, and she said, okay, take 2 at night and then 1 in the morning and then 1 in the afternoon. But I realized that what I needed to do is take 1 at night, 2 in the morning when I first woke up, and then another 1 in the afternoon. And doing it like that would kind of build up the medication in my system right at the worst part of it. And if I took 2 at night, that was the medication wouldn't still be in my system for the peak of the morning sickness. I was also taking it at night, so maybe like 9 p.m. and then in the morning, maybe like 7 a.m. And then I was taking my afternoon one. I would take it at like 12 or 12:30. And I was still feeling really crummy at like 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, thinking that this medication really wasn't working. But I started taking, well, there was one day I forgot to take it in the afternoon and ended up taking it at 3 o'clock, which I was thinking would be too late and my symptoms were already going to be coming on and it wasn't going to work. However, that was the best evening that I had. When I took it at 3 o'clock, it boosted that medication and made it through the rest of the evening. It's not just going on the medication, it's finding the right regimen to follow based on when your sickness is the worst. And now that I'm 15 weeks pregnant, I've dropped the morning dose. I still take a dose before bed, and then I'll still take that 3 o'clock pill because I do not want that evening spike in the nausea. This has definitely been my easiest pregnancy, and I'm not sure if it's because of the changes that I've made or if it just is something about these pregnancies, because everyone is different. Although my other 3 have been girls, they've all been different experiences, so I really can't say if the gender makes a difference. One of the hardest things is I know that eating will make me feel better, but every time I eat something, it feels like it turns to ash in my mouth. Like I am a vampire from Twilight. And it could be something that I'm really craving and something that I usually love. And I'll, something as simple as just like a banana and peanut butter, and I'll have that and it just turns to mush in my mouth, and there's no flavor and it's just not satisfying. And so I'll eat half a banana. And it's like, okay, so I got some food, but that's not going to sustain me. That's not going to fuel my body. And you have to do that every 2 hours, literally. And I think that's part of the reason I was getting so sick previously, is that I would go too long between eating. Pre-pregnancy, you would eat every 3 or 4 hours. You'd have breakfast at 7, you'd eat again at noon, you'd have dinner again at 6. You could go, you know, 5 or 6 hours. Not when you're pregnant. 2 hours tops. I've tried to stretch it out to 3, and then I start to feel bad. And again, even if I do eat, I'll feel better. It's again, I'm playing catch up. My body's already switched into sickness mode, and eating something isn't gonna switch it back. So I need to just stay on top of it. So I don't know if eating every 2 hours means I don't get nauseous, and because I'm not nauseous, I'm eating more, or if because I'm eating more, I'm not getting nauseous. It's kind of like a chicken or the egg kind of thing, but I don't know why it took me so long to figure that out, that just eating a little bit of something, even just like half a sandwich, half a banana, can really help the nausea that just creeps up on you. One thing is, when I'm eating, I always try to find something that sounds good to me to eat and just eat that every single day as much as I can. So for breakfast for me, fried eggs have been the thing that sounds the best. It's got good protein, but the thought of scrambled eggs just like turns my stomach. I don't know if it's a texture thing. I don't know if it's because of the cheese or the milk mixed into it or what, but I have to have fried eggs. Of course, when you're pregnant, there's all sorts of dietary restrictions that you should follow, and advice on like things that you can't eat, and runny eggs is one of those things. And so I try to cook them as much as possible, but a little bit of a runny egg is what sounds satisfying to me. And so if it's either eat a runny egg with the risk of salmonella or listeria, or not eat anything, then I'm gonna take the risk and I'm gonna eat a runny egg, because that will give me the fuel that I need for my body. So I have to make certain decisions like that, which are the right decision for the situation that I'm in. So find what works and just double down on it. If eating grilled cheese sandwiches works for you, eat 3 grilled cheese sandwiches a day. Mix it up, maybe add a little tomato or some bacon, make a BLT, whatever it is, but just double down on what sounds good to you so you actually get some calories in you. And that goes along with my lunches that I've been making. I've been really into grilled cheese sandwiches, and I've done the grilled cheese and the tomato soup together, but lately I've been into grilled cheese with brie cheese, some sliced tomatoes on sourdough, and that has been hitting the spot. I've been able to make it really quickly. It takes less than 5 minutes to assemble and cook, and you're ready to eat. So even if you can feel yourself getting sick, you can eat really fast. We're not waiting for the chicken to cook in the oven. We are eating instantly. And I know that soft cheese like brie is one of those things that they say, don't eat them. Don't eat them when you're pregnant. Guess what? I'm eating them because it's one of the only things that is satisfying to me that I could put in my body and sustain me. So another piece of advice that I have is just find something that you can eat and just eat it and eat it and eat it, even if it's, you know, not the healthiest thing. For some of my other pregnancies, my first one, I was obsessed with chocolate milkshakes, and I literally would go to all the different fast food places and try the chocolate milkshakes at each one and find out which one that I liked the best. I literally went everywhere. Carl's Jr., McDonald's, In-N-Out, Jack in the Box, The Habit. I can't even think of any other places, but just so many things that would have a chocolate shake. I would give it a try. And Jack in the Box is the best one if you really want to know. The real whipped cream, and they give you a cherry. So that's what I would do, and I would go to Jack in the Box and have a chocolate milkshake every day. My second pregnancy, I was obsessed with Taco Bell bean and cheese burritos, and that is all that I would want. And I would go to Taco Bell and I would literally just order 2 bean and cheese burritos, and that's what I would get, and that would be my lunch or my dinner or my morning snack or whatever it is. And sometimes I could only eat half a burrito, and they're like this big. So you're like, how do you only eat half a burrito? I found something that sounded good to me and I would eat it every single day and I would get calories in it. Pregnancies in the past have been so sick up until 16, 17, 20 weeks. I'm not even sure. I can't even remember at this point. And so another thing is I feel like when you're eating food, it's easier to eat food when it's hot or warm. Like you could eat a cinnamon roll, like a pre-made cinnamon roll from the bakery, but if you warm it up for 10 seconds, it's so much easier to get down. Or if I'm making some food, I could make a sandwich, like a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, or I could make a grilled cheese, and making a warm sandwich was so much easier to get down. You could do a bowl of cereal, you could do a bowl of soup, but warming up a bowl of soup was easier to get down than the cereal. So some warm foods really was something that I felt better. And except for when it came to drinks, my drinks have to be ice cold. So I always have my Stanley with me, refilling this a couple times a day, or like the milkshakes, a cold drink, ice cold. If it's room temperature or like at all, it grosses me out. Like it tastes different in your mouth and it brings on that nausea. I don't know what it is, but that was another trick that I had. And then another thing would be avoiding the things that trigger you. And you're probably sitting here like,
I don't know what triggers me. Everything triggers me. I'm sick all the time.
And I get it. You don't even know what your triggers are until it triggers you. And you're just like, oh, that's great. I'm going to go throw up because I smelled something gross. In particular, mine was always the smell of cooking meats. If my husband was making some like baked chicken, put some seasoning on it, absolutely no. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Another trick would be please reach out to your village. Luckily, my mom lives nearby and she's available in the evenings for me. I've had some time where my husband's been held up at work and I am just struggling hardcore. I would call my mom. She'd be able to come over and get the dinner on for the kids while I was just completely sick, and she'd be able to make sure that my kids are taken care of while I'm trying to hold it all together. But ask for help as much as possible from teachers to give you some grace for being late in the morning, to, you know, asking your husband for more help. One of the things I used to do would be pack my kids' school lunches in the mornings. I'd get them breakfast as they're eating their breakfast and packing their school lunches. But in the mornings when I'm feeling so sick or worried that I'm not going to be able to get out of the house on time, we started packing the school lunches the night before, and I asked my husband to do that for me. He would pack them at night, put them in the fridge for me, and that was one less thing that I had to worry about. He would also he's in charge of the baths. So some of the food that I found actually helps, like I said, warm foods. I have a list here of ones that are able to be prepared quickly, but also just have been like kind of easy on the stomach. Grilled cheese, quesadillas, bean and cheese burritos, pasta with creamy sauce. So things like mac and cheese, whether from a box or homemade, Alfredo, stroganoff, but not spaghetti, not things with like tomato sauce on them. Soups, like a tortilla soup, a chicken noodle soup, maybe a tomato soup, but I only ate that if I had grilled cheese to dip into it. Eggs in any form, scrambled, fried, boiled, whatever it may be. Toasted bagels with cream cheese, or I would also put peanut butter on it. An apple and peanut butter, a banana and peanut butter. I've also done a banana and peanut butter sandwich. And chocolate milkshakes. Like I said, Jack in the Box. But not things like smoothies, because the juices and the fruit in smoothies, that wasn't something that worked for me. So thank you for watching The Life of the Troxels and listening to my little ramblings along here. I hope you learned a few things that helped you, that you can try to implement and will help you during your pregnancy journey. I totally understand what it's like to be in those trenches, and just think that you'll never feel better I promise you there's a light at the end of the tunnel and you'll feel better. And hopefully some of these tricks helped you. So if you're watching this video, put down in the comments below how many weeks you are or when your due date is, and we can all share together. My due date is actually 5/5. 5/5/25. So I do want to share kind of the worst part about my HG experience, and let me tell you that some of the interesting places that I've had to barf. So most of the time I've been home. Obviously if I'm not feeling good, I'm not going anywhere, but I do have kids and other responsibilities, so I've been in the car. And I have puked while I was driving. I felt the urge when I was driving down my residential street, pulled over against the curb, and I puked into a Starbucks food bag. The bag that they put your food in when you go to Starbucks. I had one that was trash. Puked right into that. That was a fun thing. I don't even think I put the car in park. I think I had my foot on the brake the whole time. And then another one, going through the McDonald's drive-thru, I felt that I was feeling not so good and I really needed some food quick. I thought a drive-thru would be perfect. Get some chicken nuggets, go through the drive-thru, order, I pay, and I pull forward so I'm between the first and the second window. I barfed in the drive-thru at McDonald's. By then I had picked up the blue nausea bags, the motion sickness bags that you can get. Amazon has a good pack, so I can link the ones that basically like the hospital ones down below. But that was another thing. Once I puked in the car in trash, I realized I needed some nausea bags, and so I bought a pack of those, keep them in my car and in my purse, and they've come in handy. I have used them. But yeah, puking in the McDonald's drive-thru, that was an interesting one.